Welcome to VSB After the Bell. I'm your host, Gianna Chell. With deep gratitude and respect, we are honored to be learning and unlearning on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Hamathquiam, Skohomish Ohomeom, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. The Vancouver School Board is among the most diverse school systems in Canada, with an annual enrollment of approximately 50,000 students from kindergarten to grade 12 and adult education students. Hi everyone, and welcome to the third season of After the Bell. To start off the season, we're talking about talking. No, seriously. More specifically, we're diving into best practices for effective communications between parents and guardians with their child's teachers and school staff. As a parent, I don't know about you, but I've always been reluctant to approach my child's teacher or admin team because I don't want to bother them. Many of us feel unsure about how and when to communicate with the school. But here's the thing. Good communication doesn't have to be intimidating, and it certainly doesn't have to happen only during difficult situations. Effective communication is key to creating a positive and productive school environment for our children. When schools and families work together with open lines of communication, students benefit tremendously. So, what does effective communications look like? How can we foster it? Helping us share some insights today is Tamara Van Wyck, principal at A.R. Lord Elementary, and Gurpal Sohal, principal at Gladstone Secondary. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys.
Thanks. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
To start us off, why don't we have a little bit of introduction, self-introduction. Tamara, we'll start with you.
Hey. So I joined the Vancouver School Board in 2000, so heading almost into 25 years. I've been working in a variety of roles in the district and have been an administrator for 7 years.
So I joined the Vancouver School Board just a few years ago from Delta. This is year 21 for me. Second year as principal at Gladstone. Before that, I was at John Oliver.
So some very young-looking administrators, but lots of experience here.
I'll take that.
Okay, so today's episode is about communication. Why don't we start off with some best practices? Like, what's been an example of a best practice between a parent and a staff communication, either with yourself or one of your staff members?
We want communication before things go wrong. We want to know that parents to know that we're not just schools in communities. Like, we don't just happen to exist on the east side of Vancouver. We're part of the east side of Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're part of that community. We're not just taking up space in that community and serving its needs. No, we are the community, and they should feel like they're able to talk to us.
I'd also like to add that I think that elementary schools in particular are no longer that place where the only communication happens when you're in trouble. I know not just at our school, but in many others, that there's so much involvement with the teachers and administrators with the families, whether it be face-to-face communication, involvement in the extracurricular. I host a lunch bunch a couple times a week for kids to come and we play together. And it really is social and, wellness and belonging. So I think that when we have built that relationship, that then there's a lot more casual conversations that can be leveraged into an easier access to when there is a concern, or whether it be around your child's well-being, their learning, or their social emotional.
I do see this trend where there's more of an effort for parents, for families to build that relationship with their teachers, with their administrators. And I see a lot of our administrators come out onto the playground during pickup and drop-off time intentionally to meet families and just to have that face-to-face time, right?
Yeah. But when it's time to build the garden boxes, we're there.
Yeah.
The pack picnics, the extracurricular, we're in it for all those good reasons too.
Okay, let's pivot and let's talk about difficult conversations. Can you provide an example of a difficult conversation you had to have with a family and how that went?
I'm thinking of something that happened very recently to me, actually. Ongoing dialogue and short, informal communication with a family. We have had more lengthy meetings in the past. So we have quite a history. And recently when we were around the same table, talking about some concerns, it just sort of clarified, I think, to both of us that each other had this very strong vulnerability for this child, and that really arguing against the system wasn't getting us anywhere. So with that in mind, that we are both looking for the best needs, how the best needs can be met for this kiddo, just really helped sort of soften the shoulders. And then we got a lot of things accomplished. Yeah.
So you felt like you both had the same goals in mind?
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think that we've always had the same goals in mind, but when the tension was changed about sort of seeing each other in a different way, and I think this happened on both sides of the table, what was important to me, and I think in the end important to the parents, that we create an action plan, a very realistic action plan, and that's what we could come up with.
How about you, Gurpal?
It was one of those situations that started with something that didn't go well. It was not the conversation that any family member wants to have with their administrator. He came from a particular family where the dad came in and he sat down in my office and he was quite clear. He didn't trust the school. He didn't trust administrators. And he definitely didn't trust our school liaison officer at the time or police in general. He had a lot of experience being on the other side of the law, the dad. And he was defending his son, my son didn't do anything. You can't prove it. You can't prove it. You can't prove it. After a while, I could tell we weren't going to get anywhere. We weren't going to build a relationship that way. I stopped, put down my pen, stopped taking notes, and just sat in the chair. And we stared at each other for a little while. And I said, hey, man, what are we even doing here? Like, what are we doing? And it let us have a moment where we stopped being a school administrator in a system, in a structure, and a parent butting up against that structure. We just became two adults talking about a young person who was struggling. We got to be on the same side of things for just a moment. But that moment was enough to open a door where we could start talking in an honest, open, non-defensive way. And we stayed in contact. We stayed communicating all year into the next year. And we could kind of laugh about it.
Right.
Hey, remember when we met? But I think too many times we forget that we're just a bunch of people who care a lot about kids.
Yeah.
That's what we have in common, right? Their child is who we have in common.
Yeah. And sometimes we, as administrators, sometimes forget that, hey, we're dealing with the most important thing in this person's life when a parent or family member comes in and talks to us. And they trust us with that thing for 6, 8, 10 hours, depending on if they're in after school. Like, they trust us all day with that child.
That's what keeps me coming back on the playground to talk to families, is that even after or in spite of a very challenging conversation, their kid is the thing we have in common that we have all the care in the world for.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, between both of your stories, the commonality that I find is when the intention was clear on both sides and it aligned, where the child was the intention to make sure that they're successful, then both sides are more willing to work together. And how do the parents or the families get in contact, especially at the secondary level? Should they expect an email from their teachers on the first day so they have their contact information? Because I know a lot of times at the secondary level, the students themselves are expected to be that main conduit for communication instead of relying on parents.
If it's just specific to their child, absolutely contact the teachers. Absolutely contact the counselors. And the websites should list their grade group admin. Yeah. Contact them, right? And you say, hey, I'm so-and-so's parent, guardian. Just wanted to reach out and introduce myself, right? And you might strike up a conversation that leads to better understanding of the student's needs. But if it's a desire to be more engaged in the school community, reach out to the PAC. I think what sometimes happens is parents find it difficult to engage.
Yes.
And they're not disengaged. They care very much about their child graduating with dignity and options.
Yes.
That's what we want. We want dignity and options when they graduate. Same shot for everybody. Parents are very engaged in that. They want it. But the structures for engagement sometimes are lacking.
I think it's also maybe intimidating too.
Absolutely,
right?
100%.
You grow up only speaking to teachers or principals when you're in trouble. And so you may have that mindset for your child as well. And even the basics of where do I even start? So just as simple as on our website, there's a list of contacts on there. You can start from there. That beginning starting point is maybe just all they need too.
Yep. My parents, when I was growing up, very few families spoke the language that they spoke, all right? And they had very little engagement in what the school would call engagement. Right? They had very little engagement with the school. They cared deeply that I get educated, right? But they also, as much as they cared deeply that I get educated, they trusted the school implicitly, right? They here's our child,
Safe.
Yep, which so many parents have. And we really, really appreciate that. When
That unconditional positive regard.
absolutely, and it's that complete trust in us as educators. It's a big responsibility, and we see it as such. So when a parent does engage and the parent does want to reach out and communicate with us and make a connection with us, build a relationship with us, like, that's a good day. That's a good conversation. That's one we'll have.
What about situations when a family is not happy with the solution provided by the teacher? What can parents or family members do then?
In elementary, if they've, like you said, already spoken to their child's teacher, then send a message to the administrator and ask if they can meet with them. The administrator is going to talk to the teacher to ensure that they have met and to get the information about the situation, and then they'll go from there.
If they don't find a resolution or a solution that they're happy with, what's the next step that a parent can take or that the admin will take?
There's a couple options, right? It seems like there's often another person to speak with, another party to involve, to look for what an agreed upon resolution or next step could be. I think people just want to feel like they're not stuck in a situation and maybe they're afraid that their child is going to be stuck in a situation that they see as untenable. So the administrators, each of us have a director of instruction that are responsible for a number of schools. And so that would be the next logical administrator to involve.
Okay, so really the process is start with the teachers. And then, if that doesn't work out, then it gets escalated to the admin staff, the principals or the vice principals. And then if there still isn't a solution found, then the administrator will escalate it to the directors of instruction, which are kind of supervisors of the administrators at the district level. And then they will step in. And then from there, does it continue to get escalated if it needs to? What's the process there?
I mean, it can, yeah. There's an appeal process that's detailed through the superintendent's office. Absolutely, parents can appeal a decision that's based at the school level.
But the key for us is, does it have to get there?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
People don't go there if they feel heard, and they actually are heard. It's not just a matter of making people feel, it's actually hearing what families have to say, right? And hearing what parents have to say. And then being able to articulate why we can and cannot accommodate every request every time.
Yeah, certain aspects of the request, maybe. Something that often comes up, I don't know about you, Gurpal, but in elementary, there's often peer conflicts that come to a conversation in the administrator's office. And there's so much that we can share about your child and their involvement, but we truly can't share based on confidentiality and the other child's learning process about the other child or children that are involved. And that includes their families and how and what we're communicating with their families, the other child's family. So, and that's tough because I think a lot of folks just, they just want to know because information is so settling and grounding. So I personally understand that very well. So I try and, create a situation where we're as transparent as possible, given those constraints. And then really when families understand that there are multiple variables, there are other people and other families involved, and that we are dealing with all of those variables, hopefully, they can zoom out and see the situation in another way. I mean, these are things that we're also working on, with solving conflicts within the school, within the students in the school, as far as perspective and each of our part in a situation. It's all learning. It truly is all learning.
So we talked about proactive approaches and what to do. How about on the other side, what not to do? What are examples of ineffective communications from your experience?
It's really, really hard on us in elementary when you get our attention on the fly at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. Those quick social interactions at that time are wonderful and connective, but to have the big discussions saying that you'll just take a few minutes of our time, it's so ineffective. We're thinking about this whole class right in front of us, or the next thing that needs to happen because we're on. So in that case, I'd strongly advise to, make an appointment or use that time to say, can we meet after school?
Right.
Can I come
schedule
by?
Something.
Yeah, schedule something.
Right.
Whether it be, we have this great digital option of having a Teams meeting online even where we can each be in the places that we need to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So because I know sometimes I hear parents, they don't want to bother teachers, they already have a long work day. And then if you are meeting them before or after school, you almost feel like you're burdening them with extra work time.
This is our job and we're really happy to connect. Yeah.
So really, I mean, the lesson here or the tip here is don't be afraid, reach out, communicate. And when there needs to be a longer conversation, book that appointment, schedule that time with your teacher, because at the end of the day, it's really going to benefit your child in making sure that both your intentions are clear and you're both on the same page working towards the same goal. Are there any last tips or pieces of advice that you want to share with our listeners?
A piece of advice, I think, personally and professionally, that I'm going to try to adhere to when I go through the school system with my kids in Vancouver is that I don't want to let my experience of public schools, everything in my life I have because of public schools, right? Mm-hmm. That's not to say I had great experiences in public schools growing up in the 80s and the 90s, mm-hmm. right? Really outing myself there. But I don't want to have my experiences and my family's experiences color the way I approach my kids' schools. Because the people who were running public schools back then are so different from the ones running them now. Tamara wasn't the principal of the school that I went to, right? Like they're new,
Well, 21st century education is pretty amazing.
Yeah, the curriculum's totally changed.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I would invite parents to do the same. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe I'm not the principal you grew up with. Maybe like our teachers aren't the teachers that you grew up with. And maybe come into schools when you come for conversations, difficult ones or fun ones, with that knowing that it ain't your 1990s high school anymore.
Yeah, to have an open mindset.
Yep.
I like all the social interaction and the casual conversation because that's really connective. I know I've said it before, but that's what the foundation of our education is connecting each other. Yeah. So always say hi.
Yeah, don't be scared to talk to your principal. Don't be scared to talk to your teachers. Don't feel like you're bothering them, because they welcome that and they want to get to know the families, because you're together for, the next 10 months. Every single day. You'll see them 5 days a week. So Thank you so much both for taking the time to talk about communication between families and teachers. As we begin the new school year, it's important that we set things off in the right direction so that everyone is working together to enhance student success. To our listeners, thank you for joining us as we start off the new school year. We hope this conversation will come in handy as you begin building new relationships with staff at your child's school this year. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Gianna.
For those of you who have been with us from the beginning, you may be expecting a Matter of the Month segment where we dive into hot topics in the district of that month. For this season of After the Bell, we will be releasing Matter of the Month as a separate episode. So that means 2 episodes per month. As a little teaser, we will be discussing the Foundation Skills Assessment for September's Matter of the Month. Follow us on Instagram at VSB39 to make sure you don't miss when the next episode drops. Or subscribe to VSB After the Bell on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Special thanks to music teacher Mr. Bonnell and the Nightingale Elementary students for the original theme songs.